Hello everyone, welcome to an Unearthly Podcast. Today hosted by a Time Lord, 2 humans, and a bunch of cubes. We can bicker about who's what later on. An Unearthly Podcast is a Star's End production in association with Fireheart Inc. and MadMat Inc. Hosted on stars-n.net, madmadinc.wordpress.com, and Fantasy and Sci-Fi Love and News and Reviews. Amy and Rory wake up to Rory's father declaring that cubes have invaded the Earth, which the doctor is, as far as I can tell, sitting on a rooftop examining one. These are black uniform cubes that have infested the entire world, which the doctor is frustrated by his inability to find any weakness in. Unit, meanwhile, discovers a surge of energy and with absolutely no tact decides to invade the Pond household, alerting us to the fact that the Brigadier has a daughter who is running science in Unit. A lot of investigation occurs. The doctor has a lot of ADHD. We discover a Time Lord mythological figure is behind the whole thing. They tell us their plan. They leave. The doctor prevents it. And as far as I can say, that's pretty much the gist of the episode. There are other themes explored, but it didn't seem all that complete to me. But
that's the funny thing about this episode. There's no response to what happens.
yeah.
Like this episode, nothing really happens. To be honest, like, it's kind of frustrating in that way. For some reason, this episode reminds me of the first series. Now, the Eccleston era, it reminds me of this little bit.
I could kind of see what you're going with. I could kind of see what you mean there.
Just have that feel of early Russell TV. I watched it twice. I couldn't like.
And you know what? You know what else I can see with that? Because everything in the Eccleston era, even though they all seemed to be one-off adventures, they were all building in some way toward the closing of the season. And this really feels in a way like they're giving, it feels like they're giving us Unit for a reason. Like they want us to know who Unit is for later on in the season. And especially since I don't know if they were real or not, but there were images of Jenna Louise Coleman in a Unit beret floating around Facebook around the time this episode came out.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I've actually heard of it. If my brain has to place it down, it's the fact that the monsters felt a bit campy. Really cool.
I wouldn't really call them monsters, no.
You know, the little bit of camp that Russell T Davies has put into his work, especially in that first series.
Don't talk.
Every show here, when the show itself is not taking it seriously, and I think they were taking it seriously enough for them to qualify as series.
In which, are you talking about in Power of 3, or you're talking about in, shit, what was the name of the Slavine's first episode?
No, you're actually kind of right. The cubes aren't taken seriously at all. But once you get to the actual villain, oh yeah, they're totally serious. Right. Yeah, there was definitely a hint of that. Yeah, especially.
I have to say, I really appreciate the fact that none of the cubes farted if we're going to be bringing up the Eccleston era. Yes. But it was only for a few seconds, so I saw, you know, if it was one of the major recurring cubes, I could see that as being too, you know, overly campy. With its brief cameo, it was okay. I didn't mind that. Yeah.
I mean, the doctor's there playing tennis on the Wii, and the cube just kind of forms in his face. For a moment there, he's like, get out of my way, and then he kind of realizes what it was. That was a bit of a camp.
Yeah. But then again, it was less campy than every other Matt Smith moment leading up to that. Because for the first half of this episode, I really, really hated the doctor. For the first half of this episode, because a 1,200-year-old Time Lord should not be a 3-year-old whose Ritalin prescription ran out.
That's part of this guy. That's part of how they
He's never been that. He's never been that bad before to me.
Mind you, before you go further with this, I actually have a child with ADD.
Oh, so was I, yeah. But at the same, yeah, that's but that's what I'm saying. A 3-year-old with a 3-year-old you could see being that bad. Yeah, really. I'm like, unless with the push-ups, I could kind of see the 11th Doctor being, 1, 2, skip a few, 1,000, that type of counter. So in that case, in that respect, I could kind of see it as being an hour. Well, it's a very small country. I was going to say, then again, you also live out in places where people have very big lawns. The biggest lawn I've ever had was 1/3 of an acre, and that was when we had a lot more money than we have now. So.
Yeah, but around here, our lawns tend to be bigger because we allow ourselves to spread out.
Yeah.
For the larger cities, yeah, lawns get tiny. Even for houses.
Then again, if they were like in one of the the mansions and castles you always see in British movies, they have pretty big lawns. Don't do their own lawn. Yeah, they don't do their own lawn.
Well, to go back to the actual episode.
Yes, we can. That's gotta be the first time I've heard I enjoy something more because of Angels Take Manhattan. I'm pretty sure I never saw anything resembling that sentence anywhere on the internet before now. But the whole season has been doing this.
Well, here's what I was saying. This is, they've been setting up departures since arguably God Complex, probably before that. But every time before this, it's always been like a science, like 5-10 minutes focusing on it, and then we talk about something else entirely. This is the only episode.
Okay. See, I can kind of get that. Next week, I'll tell you why it's rubbish in the context of Angels Take Manhattan. I'm not going to get on that tangent right now. That was the corniest. Yeah, I really wish they took that line out of the episode. It really.
The idea of Power 3 and it being cubes and it being this really slow invasion is all done so that we can have the time to focus on the Doctor and Rory. And you can look at everything in the episode and relate.
Yeah, it's like even the opening monologue says that. Although the way it's referenced at the end kind of discounts the fact that Brian was putting his all into it. The Brigadier's daughter was a semi-important character here, but they're like, nope, there were three people did it. So to quote that Joker meme that the cartoon hero's been using, if you have to explain the joke, there is no joke. Is that or at least to introduce Unit in a way other than yeah, it's like I'm trying to remember who it was, if it was, but I remember being mentioned that one issue with Unit for the past few years has been that they're constantly portrayed as the bumbling idiots who are messing up and the Doctor is fixing it. Whereas here, they might not have the resources and knowledge that the Doctor does, but they're handling things in a competent, effective way. Well, here's one way to partially predict that. Is her actress in any way related to anybody in Doctor Who history? Because if she was actually the Brigadier's actor's daughter or something like that, then I would say no, she's probably a one-off. But if it's not that kind of cameo, then I would say she'll probably be seen at least once again. Like for example, the whole episode. Yeah, the Doctor's daughter was intended to be a.
As far as I can tell, has not had any relationship to anybody in Doctor Who.
So that says to me is we'll probably see her again, even if it's just a bit role.
I'm sure they would, if one-off, it would have included her character somewhere. And that's my worry when I started, is that, she's going to be evil, or she's going to be this or this or this. Well, no, they set her up as a character who can't return. It's like, the whole reason I knew the God Complex wasn't Amy and Rory's last episode is because something
I can kind of see, and this the remarks you made about the Eccleston era, this is kind of simple because the Prime Minister from the Eccleston era was originally appeared as a one-off, but then became a recurring character, not necessarily a daily, constantly coming back character, but a recurring character who had some import nonetheless.
That's bring her back from Anna's Christmas special, Christmas Invasion, and then we didn't see her again until...
The Stolen Earth.
What's that?
The Stolen Earth.
Yes. But still, when they wrote her, she was a one-off character. When they first introduced her, and I guess we don't feel that Stewart was written to be a one-off. And the way they introduced her and her role she filled is very much, it feels to me very much intended to be like how the Brigadier was written in The Invasion. Obviously, yes, he had been in an episode before that, but he's written in The Invasion to be a recurring character. It doesn't feel very much the same with Kate Stewart. She's written to return. She's like filling the exact role the Brigadier filled. And by being even related to him, Moffat has set her up to be a character that we can come back to. Well, first of all, use The Invasion as a reference doesn't work because The Invasion was Lester Stewart's second outing as the Emperor. That's the first. Yes. If I mean that naming of unit, but basically by that point they had already decided Lester Stewart was a recurring character. Yes, that's actually my point. Is that however in Web of Fear he's written to be a one-off. Even though he returns to The Invasion, it's not technically a runoff. He could have ended right there. Like, it could have been he's in The Invasion, that's it. But he's written specifically to return, primarily because The Invasion is written to be the prototype of Career. And I think this is indeed what Kate Stewart is. She's written to be a guy. I would bet Moffat specifically wrote her in so she could return in other episodes. I think they had. I have no way of knowing this because Confidential ended last year, but it really feels to me like they are writing her to return. And like I've been trying to say for 5 minutes, thus far I have been told that I cannot find any indication or having been contracted to appear in future episodes.
But it's not like they have everyone contracted as of just yet either, so we don't know anything yet.
Well, technically, yes and no. Filming has finished on the Christmas special, or at least is underway, which means that they are currently doing the contract negotiation work, if not the script writing, for the rest of Series 7. It wasn't confirmed, though, that when it was announced that Mark Williams would be in the show, it wasn't confirmed he was going to be in multiple episodes. It was just told he was going to be in Dinosaurs in Spaceship. Later found out he was going to be in Power of Three. It's possible, and I will agree, that the BBC is keeping it close to their chest. Right.
Sounds possible.
I mean, it's like, I don't think she's going to be a regular character. I do think she's going to be returning, probably about and he really only became a recurring character when the person that was slated to be Donna Noble's father died in The Runaway Bride in the beginning of the series. Right. Well, my point is, he was in that season, he was only in it like, what? Not even half the season. He was in it very little. So my assumption is Kate Stewart kind of filled a role that would be 1 to 3 episodes a season. Like, really not that big. So I don't think we even have any comment on that. They've been threatening for a couple of series now to do a flashback to the 3rd season and strand the Doctor on Earth for a while. Yeah, mind you, the difference is the fact that when they do a series like that, it saves them a lot of budget because they don't have to start these
I think Matt Smith's hearts would burst if he were stuck on if he were stuck, if he had to go through time in a linear manner.
How do you see this? How do you see this as them threatening to do this? No, I've heard this. Oh, I've heard this as rumors for, I think, since the middle of the 5th season. I can't see it personally. It's this. I can't see it because, at least not under Moffat, because Moffat is, by all accounts, Davidson more than any of the other doctors. And it's just based on, it's hard to describe. Okay, Russell T. Davies loved like for ways I think his favorite doctor. You can definitely see that.
Which
Episodes because part of his signatures very, very often. So it's like if the doctor was ever going to be stranded on Earth, kind of been under Russell T. Davies, who was heavily influenced by the early years. Moffat, by contrast, was influenced by the Davis years, and that's mainly what he looks at as the hype. It seems unlikely to me that he would want to exile the Doctor on Earth when that's not really what he views to be the best for the Doctor. Looking at it from a creative standpoint, do you know why they stranded the Doctor on Earth during the Vietnam era?
so they could afford color.
Basically, and it was actually both for budget and for creative reasons. Yeah, well, actually, the budget thing came first, and then they found a creative reason to do it. No, one of the major reasons was they thought the show had exhausted its ideas. They wanted to give it a good kick to get it going, to try and make it really successful. That was a major thing. It was also, budget-wise, they didn't have to do as much. If you're going to budget quality, early years are, the budget is really, really good for that. So it really wasn't a matter of budget so much as they needed something to do. Well, the rumor is that the BBC has been tightening its belt with budget quality. So the rumor stems from the fact that,
Well, they did cut from 3 Doctor Who shows at once to 1.
Yeah. And I would also point out the fact that they have how many lackluster special effects this season so far.
Ah.
Not saying they don't have well right now.
Just because even though, budget, to me, an announcement that they're decreasing budget speaks more that we're going to see worse effects and more facilities rather than a big show. No, all I'm saying is that I'm not saying and the reason the BBC budget cuts went down was the fact that Parliament, I think, cut their either lowered or cut their government stipend. I think if something like that did happen, it would kind of be a situation of it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't be like a series of
It would be like a 2-parter.
Yeah, and it'd be sort of like with the parallel universe thing with how the TARDIS sort of just stops working, so they are stranded because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to be honest with it. I think the two-parter would actually be more than just an episode.
Actually, that was kind of a thing in the Russell T Davies era too. The TARDIS kept running out of gas, and I always had to go back to Cardiff and refill it.
And we haven't seen that since Moffat took over.
Well, yeah, I would say even, yeah, I was gonna say since the Doctor regenerated, but same thing.
Such a perfect thing. He returns to Earth because the early era is his mode of thinking with Doctor Who. That's what he grew up on. And so he writes Doctor Who and how he's come to Who, and on that he's returning to Earth, finding Earth.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting. I haven't seen a lot of Pertwee, but when I look at the RTD era, I look at the way that Tennant's personality is written so close to Hartnell's personality was, and I just see that as the main influence. But then again, that's because Hartnell and Tennant are the 2 Doctors I'm most familiar with.
Yes, because he's later Hartnell, definitely not early Hartnell, because early Hartnell was the last one.
Right. Well, I just mean the arrogant force of nature that comes in and declares himself the person. I am solving this problem. This problem is solved because I am here, type of thing. I am right. Okay, see. Yeah, see. Okay, because I've only seen I've only seen 3 Pertwee serials to date, and 2 of them he was one of several doctors, so I haven't really gotten the full-on Pertwee experience yet.
Or you can just break your brain and listen to Pertwee saying, I am the doctor. But, back to this, one of the things that didn't bother me about this is what they touted this episode to be in the intro and what it was.
Yeah.
This is the year the doctor stayed with us.
Right, it's like, the one time... No, but it was... And then when he finally sat down and said, I'm not going to go away, I'm going to sit here and wait, as soon as he did that, the cubes started acting up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, before that, I don't really see that because the time when they have had a doctor experience.
Actually, you know what? No. The longest they've been together was during that 7 weeks that they left in the middle of the episode. That was the longest they've been together at one time. But we didn't get to see that. That was off screen. He spent more time together with them off screen than he did actually in their home. He didn't spend His schedule was playing Wii all day. I think maybe because you were looking through the doctor's point of view. Because from the doctor's point of view, he was sitting in one space for a long time.
They came back for like a couple of weeks, and then shit went down. That was my other problem with this episode. Very staccato. It does not flow.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just the style. It's more how it chooses to present itself. You really lose your basis on how long it's been apart between.
Especially since the whole theme is, the slow invasion. This is the time the doctor came and stayed. It needs to flow properly in order for you to experience it the way they want you to, the way they're claimed to be attempting to make you experience it.
I think you're probably right that this should have had, this whole spoiler thing, but Angels Take Manhattan, one thing I found is it's a very, very slow paced episode. Whereas this, by contrast, is very, very fast paced. It's a much slower episode, and Angels is fast.
It's
In terms of what that does, that allows us, it fits more
yeah.
what the story is trying to do. It makes the style and decisions match that closely. Well, the thing is, to make this paced out right, it would have needed to be a 2-part episode. The thing is, had it been a 2-part episode, you would be sitting here now going, why the hell was this 2 episodes?
Yeah. Yeah. Because the entire first episode was the doctor being erratic and not wanting to sit still. And or it would, yeah.
It's as far as how it's edited and how it's directed, it's very, very, very fast.
Right.
And if they were just a little more leisurely with the scenes and how it's cut, all
Yeah, it's like if it weren't for the fact that they're trying to give us this sense of scope, this sense of time passing, this sense of the Doctor becoming a part of their life, if they weren't trying to do that, I would say the editing and directing that would be perfectly fine. But because they're trying to give us that scope, it just doesn't work with the way it was presented.
They really were, this is also kind of, when I watched it, I got that perfectly. So maybe it's just an issue of, I mean, it could be more of a subjective thing than anything else. Because I definitely got the feeling of it taking a very long time.
Well, it took a long time, but the Doctor wasn't there for half of it. What?
When they gave you the month, that was okay, but they stopped giving you the month.
Yeah.
You just started to lose that time.
I don't think Brian's log even had any updates after the Doctor said, "Fine, I'm going to not run away this time. I'm going to sit here this time." Did it?
361.
So that would make it 12 months, and he came back after 9. Okay, and he left after. Okay, so maybe. Okay, so he was there for 3 months, but it didn't feel like it. It didn't. Yeah, nothing happened in those 3 months other than the Doctor playing Wii tennis. Right. You know, the Doctor going shopping with Amy. The Doctor doing something manly with Rory. I don't know. Drinking tea. Yeah, montages other than, push-ups and Wii and... It made me want to slap the Doctor and say, "Go sit down in the corner."
I'm sorry, that montage, everything he did in the course of an hour, no. Yeah, the 5 million kids on a soccer ball.
Like, I was paying attention the second time I watched it through. I think he got to, like,
the montage, you really don't know.
Yeah, the whole point of montage is montage skip things. Every shot shows a little improvement. To show it all would take too long. A montage. I'm never singing again. I'm sorry. I'm never singing again.
It's supposed to be funny that he does all this crazy stuff, that's what is funny and played class. It doesn't make a lot of sense now. Saying logically how he could have done my comics, and now he's kind of except it's a bad joke.
Yeah, I'll agree with both of your points there. It showed us that this Doctor has no sense of the maturity and all that stuff that we've come to expect from the Doctor. That said, it was a great way of reminding people who don't like the 11th Doctor why they don't like the 11th Doctor. I don't hate him, but in this episode, I really wanted to hit him.
I see this part of like how take a look at this in context after Town Called Mercy. It's more he knows, or he's somewhat aware that his time with the companions is coming to an end, and he's not ready to do that. This incarnation attached himself very heavily to his companions, and he's not ready to let go, and his natural way of reacting to that.
Really?
By becoming very mature and very all sorts of he has to take
His
do all that because he's not had the time to do it now. He knows. Yeah, but
that's why he keeps leaving them.
I think they could have done that. No, I mean, they did, and it's less time than what they took to do that job.
Yeah. But for this episode and the way it's paced, a minute is a long time.
Yeah. That minute, if you take 10 seconds of that minute, be able to still put out the fact that the doctor needs to go.
Mm-hmm. You could use some of that time to make it more obvious that the time passed later on. When it wasn't just an hour, when it was 3 months. That hour was longer than the 3 months later on.
Yes, it is.
More time passed during that hour than it did during the 3 months after he came back.
Yeah, that's like I did like that little moment where they had Rory talking to the doctor after they come back from bunkering off during their anniversary.
Oh.
That bit was good.
I was kind of waiting for I almost expected it to be like when how Jackie would constantly react to the doctor about you're putting Rose in danger, the way that conversation was going, I kind of thought it would go like that, but Brian has a completely different personality and handled it a lot cooler than Jackie ever could have.
But yeah, part of the timing there is my issue. That was the finally get to go do something. One of the things that always did me that nobody ever caught on to in the entire episode was the similarity between the cubes and something like the monolith from 2001. Think about it. Small black substance proportional thing. I mean, immediately I saw it as like, oh my god, it's some kind of alien multi-tool. And I was right!
But I don't know.
I think.
The model is saying this is me coming at it from a thematic perspective and knowing that the monoliths were an advanced extraterrestrial race that deliberately advanced human society to better serve the soul of the alien race.
See, I was kind of ruined by the posters because there were some posters where it kind of showed like the Doctor and the ponds being like distorted by cubes, and I was kind of thinking it was going to be like a reality warping, either reality warping or dimensional traveling thing, and that's kind of what I was waiting for, and that's, it's not like I wasn't necessarily disappointed, but it kept me from having any expectations that fit the realm of anything that actually did happen. So I don't know if that was a mistake of the a flaw in the promotion, or simply just something that they were going with the cube theme and took it a little too far. But
I think the problem with this episode was sort of that it just felt like fillers in a lot of ways.
yeah, just
That would happen eventually.
see that
Actually trying to be a great episode.
that's kind of like the past 3 episodes. Actually, no, I would say this one. Yeah, it was a setup. This episode feels. I'm gonna say this episode feels less like filler than the. I get it's set up, but this episode definitely feels less like filler than the 3 that came before it, in my opinion.
Basically, this series has been really nothing but filler thus far. There hasn't really been a coherent overplot other than the fact that
The Pawns were leaving, which they made it very clear in the first episode.
Well, this was something I was commenting on in the chapter when we started. Was that each episode, with the exception of Dinosaurs on the Spaceship, deals in some part with a thematic, with something to do with analyzing either or his relationship with his companion. Obviously, Power 3 and facing the upcoming Age of Manhattan, not the companions of those. But there's a lot, Tom Plummer's the best example. The whole point of that episode is to analyze both morality and conscience. And I think that's supposed to set up exactly any kind of, it's all also setting up exactly how he's going to be dealing with himself later on down the road. Asylum of the Daleks kind of deals with both. I mean, obviously, we have the obvious parallel. It deals a lot with Amy and Rory and their relationship, but it's also, I mentioned there's also a kind of theme of isolation, where there's very much, it goes to great length to set up how the Doctor is removing himself from the universe, and this is touched upon later, of course, but it's kind of saying, what if this is him isolating himself, him starting to put himself, make something alone? And I said it was possible that this could be analogous to Oswald and Dalek. Exactly how she's going, and a lot of what she's doing is both analyzing it's almost a version of the companion archetype and dealing with, I don't know, I think I'm not smart enough to really get down to all of it, but I think there's a lot going on thematically in each of these episodes that really only Dinosaurs on the Spaceship could be classified as filler. Even that ending sets up Count Plummer's. Each episode does their share to really start to do interesting things with what they're. I think the payoff is able to take Manhattan, and each of the episodes set up in some way that payoff. I think
I think you could take Angels Take Manhattan, and it could have been the first episode of the season, and we would not have lost anything.
No, because Power 3 would not have made sense. Nor would,
No.
Silence.
What?
I mean, it's just a lot of the Power 3 and both.
I just mean if we never had the first 4 episodes, Angels Take Manhattan, I think would have been the same episode that it was. I don't think it would lose anything if you had taken away the 4 leading up to it.
No, you definitely, I think you really needed Power 3. I can see, I mean, the other 3 are doing other things rather than developing a relationship, but you needed Power 3. Like, I can't see Angels working so well with Power 2, having all the themes set up by Power. I definitely think that.
So, anybody else ready to talk about the big bad?
You mean episode of Palpatine?
Yes, Rob Walker, exactly.
I actually want to you play the chicken dance and actually did that with Jeremy as a person. Just wait for weddings in his life.
Yeah, well, like you live in Wisconsin, man.
I think it's just a Wisconsin. The thing is that he being Captain Wedding.
It's like a religion out there. Where?
If that's true, that's also religion in Minnesota too.
That's actually, I think that's the first time I heard the chicken dance since high school.
It's a Midwest thing, man. If I would have heard it, my brain went, yeah, that got lost. Come here.
I think I'm more by England, to be honest.
Oh, actually, speaking of location, I'm kind of curious.
Chicken dance during Brewers games.
What, I am curious for those with more Pertwee and such experience. Unit is supposed to be international. Was it always based in Britain, or did they actually have, official unit? Like, did any, did it?
No, correct. The headquarters of the United Nations Intelligence Task Force, as it was known in the Third Doctor era, they've now changed that to the United Intelligence Task Force because the UN told them to knock it off. Is headquartered in Switzerland. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because was the Seeds of Doom where the Brigadiers called up to Geneva? Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Kind of like Torchwood Cardiff not being the only one, but it's the one that we happen to deal with.
Like I said, it was basically the United Nations Special Division for dealing with.
Right.
That's the way I think of it. The United Nations Special Division for dealing with weird shit. And so basically, when it was founded in Geneva, and they would have branches all over the place. There was probably one in Paris. There was probably one in like Seville or somewhere.
One in New York, certainly.
One in New York. I saw the one in New York. One in Japan. One in Australia.
I assume there'd be one in LA as well.
Depending. They might have one for specific countries in it. So there might be so there's
But that's actually a heck of a big body for only one branch to hold.
the United States headquarters might be in New York.
Yeah, because that's.
Around the United States.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you think UN in the United States, you think New York, or if anything, maybe one in New York, one and then a small like an office in the Pentagon.
It would be, but they would probably have sub branches of the United States branch in various locations.
Yeah.
Probably in LA, Chicago, Miami, etc.
Or even then, I wouldn't think so much major cities. I would think because unit is, if anything, it's a military branch. So if anything, you'd think in major military locations more than actual major civilian population centers.
Well, think about that. Think that LA, between San Diego and LA, there's at least 3 military air bases and sea bases I can think of off the top of my head. In Florida, probably even be located at Cape Canaveral.
That would make a lot of sense. Considering they're most likely to think, yeah, because Cape Canaveral is who's most likely to deal with extraterrestrial anything is going to be NASA. So, just like if there's anything in the west coast of the U.S. that I would expect a unit to be involved with, it would be Edwards Air Force Base.
And of course, within the reboot series, of course, Unit now has its own helicarrier, proving that they are now the actual Dr. Who of S.H.I.E.L.D. So Unit will look like freaking Samuel L. Jackson.
That might be too awesome for words. If he just had, as long as he didn't say that, as long he wasn't in I don't say if he said it in Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, it might have been too corny. If he says it anywhere else, that's perfectly fine. Of course, the Doctor would also have to make some sort of reference to Jedi and/or Sith while speaking to said Jackson, just to complete.
Would he then have to show that alien sorry for breaking concentration?
Yeah, I know. It took me a little bit of a second, but yeah. No, because especially the way Matt said it, for some reason Han Solo came to mind, and I was just like, what? And then I was just like, wait, that's not a Solo thing.
I'm sorry. My brain is now discussing on the
No, I'm just saying. Now I'm just saying, what does the Doctor look like? What? What planet are you from? Does the Doctor look like a bitch? What? So, we were about to talk about the Shakri, but we got sidetracked. It does.
Like mechanical prosthesis around its eyes. It doesn't walk like it. The black outfit
that actually, to me, that would have made it better if it really was a Palpatine ripoff. Even if it was obvious, it probably would have made it better to me because you would have actually had a confrontation versus telling him the plan and then leaving.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he wasn't even really.
Right.
It was a pretty hologram construct.
And you.
Wasn't it like another thing? Oh, it's another villain of Lord mythology or something like that. Which I'm fine with, but it's just how many bedtime stories do Time Lords have?
But wait, is he? Now oh, that's right. I forgot the Taclophane had an origin. I forgot about that. Even though the ones as we met them were created. You're right. Yeah, because I'm like, I knew the Master created the race, but I forgot that the name had an origin.
There's another one. There's another big one.
Because I was just about to say that I think in New Who this might have been the premiere of Time Lord mythology, but as you just proved, that's not the case.
Let's see. The early swag was the Mendel. I think the gods of Ragnarok.
Does the Toymaker count?
Possibly, though that was never really established in the main series. Although I really have to watch.
The Toymaker is someone I'd like to see return.
You and about half the fan base out there.
Because, well, no, it's just because ever since I watched the episode, it's like they established that there will be, until one of them dies, their conflict will never end because that's the nature of the Toymaker. But I don't think he ever had a second appearance on the show. That's why I want to see him.
Well, the race is crowd. When the episode came out, it wasn't that. You realize the Celestial is a Chinese slang.
Really?
Just a Mandarin garb, and he kind of speaks in a Chinese voice. Like, really? Just.
It wasn't obvious enough for me. You gotta. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Let me put it this way: considering how other powerful figures dress in Doctor Who, you have to dress more weird than that for me to actually acknowledge what you're wearing in Classic Who.
I'll link you to the post, but it's that guy. It's TARDIS Revitorum guy. One of his more well-known blog posts is something that is just attacking Celestial Toymaker on both as a story, and then he also goes on to say that it's rather racist. And most of it is down to the naming Celestial Toymaker, Celestial meaning Chinese. It's just an old Chinese slang. And then it
See, to me, that's all the more reason to bring him back in a way that gets rid of that.
Personally, I think it's brilliant to have him be a villain who is always presenting himself as a racial stereotype. But then that'd be really hard to do without beating up like.
Yeah, I was gonna say if this was a Comedy Central show, I would say go for it. As it is, I don't think it would go over very well.
I mean, but in a serious fashion, not.
Yeah, I understand you, but if this was, if it was like a satire show or something, it would work and not be taken as mean-spirited. I don't think it could work in Doctor Who without it being taken as mean-spirited.
Now, mind you, let's say the Toymaker was in either 1965 or 1966. I'm not going to look up their date right now.
Yes.
At this point, you can basically do a lot of things as radar.
It's also it's the same episode that has the older version of Catch a Tiger. The older version that they're describing.
Yeah, and that stuff was fine. But let's not get the modern.
That wasn't an April Fool's post.
Well, it was racist then.
Yes.
It was racist then. He elaborates his view on racism very, very well later. Because he basically says racism is not something we should dispute, but it's also not something we should damn an entire episode. And his reasoning for such Toymaker, he says he thinks it's a crap story, and it happens to be racist. But something like Talented by Cheyenne, which is unrepentantly racist, is still a brilliant, brilliant episode and should be enjoyed because of that. Racism is a really, really shitty thing that humans do, but it's also not something that sullies everything it touches.
Yeah, well, when change is a lot of stereotypes, which is racism in itself, but it's stereotypes.
And you have, you have a character who's all a gentleman, it's just horrible.
If you really think about it, most of the characters in there are stereotypes.
Well, I mean, it's not just, you have, Green Death is more of the racist as well. Terrence Steinbach is racist against Scotland. Toby Cyberman is racist against everyone. It goes on and on.
Against Americans, hopefully, but a story for another time. He was talking about
there's a lot of things that seem alright, but when you actually look at it, are actually a little under. The best example for me is the fact that every villain in Star Wars is a foreigner. Even in the trilogy, all the villains are British. Yeah. Except for Darth Vader, who's black. He's not even thinking about it. He's not even thinking about it because Tarkin is white, and Emperor is white, but they're all British, and they're all foreigners.
well, part of that, not all of it, part of it was the fact that Star Wars was filmed in English.
Yeah, exactly.
So 90% of the extras they got were English.
Obi-Wan was also English.
Also, all the main, except for Obi-Wan, all the main characters.
I think it was more the idea that
It is a problem though that all the characters are. It was not something to really think about. It's just racism. It's weird. I wouldn't damn Star Wars. I think it's a little racially uncomfortable. But it's also not something I've ever pointed out,
They are.
yeah, that's
Yeah, it's like gone sideways.
yeah. Yeah, so as was anybody else feel like it was the ending of this episode was really anticlimactic with the way that there were no defense systems? Basically, as soon as the Doctor sat down, he could do whatever he wanted to the controls and undo everything the Chakra had done.
It was about the failure. It's a character.
It's like the themes are characters are important, but you need a plot to make it worth watching.
Not really. I mean, something like Warcraft's game is very light on plot, but it succeeds because the plot is not its goal. Plot is good, but it's not a necessity.
If you're writing a story, it needs to have a plot.
Dr. Neutral and he's putting on the back burner simply because on that's the right there. The plot in Warrior's game was good. Not great. Good. The plot here doesn't quite get good. No, but I mean mediocre and confusing.
Yeah, it's like the first thing you're going to watch your first thing that's going to catch you about a story is its plot. If it doesn't have a plot worth watching, the themes won't matter because there's nothing to watch.
No, I mean, it's a cinematic example, so slightly not. But Alien, the original Alien, has a terrible plot. I mean, not terrible, but it's the most generic plot ever asked for. But it's a great movie because the rest of it is good, and that's what it tries to build.
It's a simple plot, but I wouldn't.
It's a case of the Doctor taking what standard trope plots, alien invasion, and using them to develop.
But like I said, the only issue with it is the fact that there's no conflict whatsoever, because as soon as the Doctor shows up, he doesn't have to overcome a security protocol. He doesn't have to intimidate someone. He doesn't have to, argue. He just has to sit down and he wins. He wins by default, which means there's no tension.
That's not the problem with the episode. Is the Doctor trying to, why am I still, it's suddenly echoing, sorry. There it is. Okay. The conflict of the episode is him trying, it's mostly with the Doctor and the companions trying to relate their lives together.
But if that's the only thing they're going to give us payoff for, then they shouldn't include the cubes at all. If they're going to include the cubes, there has to be some sort of payoff and relevance. I mean, the cubes had their story, but it didn't follow through to the point.
This is what I'm saying, those cubes were just, the cubes are a business as usual plot for Doctor. It is, and what he's doing is using that plot so he can...
So, if you're going to do that, if you're going to do that and still if you're working, like say, if you're saying we're working on the themes with the companion and the Doctor, that's fine. So the ending should require the companions and the Doctor to work together, not just to show up. Because just showing up does not further either the theme or the plot. If the companions and the Doctor are forced to help each other, as we've seen in, other episodes, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, even like say in Rose, when Rose is forced to save the Doctor and, it establishes that they're becoming a team, something like that. It's very simple, very easy to do, and it furthers the theme. But they didn't even do that. He just showed up and sat down. Oh no, I'm hearing an echo. So it might be echoing out of somebody else's speakers. No.
I would argue that the thing is good for the reasons you specified, is that it's not a really good emotional resolution. It's just open up about it ends. You need a better emotional resolution to that. Instead of making this cheesy monologue about power.
And this actually...
Because the Doctor does whatever. I mean, he knew he was going to win anyway, so trying to...
Yes, but this this brings me to a discussion I've had with other people, which is where in the RTD/David Tennant era, the Doctor would always show up and win, but it would feel big and important, and he would show up, do something, even if it was hand-wavy, he would do something, it would look impressive, and it would be, a fun climax, versus Matt Smith, Stephen Moffat era, the Doctor will show up, simply be the Doctor, and the plot will fall into place for him, and he'll just win. And it's not the same type of payoff.
I think that's actually it's going to things with. The advantages of having a show that's run as long as Doctor Who had is that it has their share of reliable stories and things we've seen before. Basis and all that, so we can use those plot to our standard in Doctor Who you handle, and use that to help the story. That's what I think that would bring us to the doesn't solve the story, he's trying to tell, and it fails at the top. I would definitely agree with
There's what I would consider to be the climax of this is during that whole thing when the Doctor's heart stops and they're trying to figure out what's happening, how to get to the source, and then Amy does her shock nipple therapy, and that's how I would always consider it because it's Amy, and that's all I'm ever going to be able to consider it. And that, to me, is the climax of the episode, but then you present a big bad without presenting a confrontation with the big bad.
I think, really, the problem is more that the enemy is the cubes are an essential part of the episode, but he was just sort of tacked on.
Yeah. It's like... And this is why Star Trek so often defaults to machine intelligences, because you could believe a machine send a bunch of machines just to fuck with humans and not need, a big, it doesn't necessarily need an emotional climax or whatever because it's just a machine. Versus if you're saying this was caused by, a religious fanatic who believes that they're destroying pests, which is what, then there should be some sort of real, they allude to the possibility of a conflict, but they don't actually conflict with one another. And that it works if the shock...
It is awesome. It's really possible. This guy's
I was just about to say, it works if the chakra return, but if they don't, it's really kind of muddled and disappointing.
Yeah, that's
It's like, if it comes back, it'll be good. If it doesn't, it'll suck. So it's like, looking at past episodes is a lot of, well, they came back with this, so I guess this was good.
Yeah.
That's the problem I kind of had. That's the problem I kind of had with this. Was it was like when I got to that bit of the episode, I was like, and he turned it off. I was like, what the? If he doesn't come back, then this will be completely pointless. Because the way they set that up was like, oh hey, I'm here. I'm gonna be back in God knows how many of the episodes or series or whatever, and it's like.
Mm-hmm.
This episode really could have been done without anything actually. Really, this could have been done without a conflict, as far as I'm concerned. This could have just been,
Yeah. And I probably would not have minded it. As long as they didn't take out the cubes just to replace it with the Doctor running around and acting like a 3-year-old. But if they actually focused on what needed to be focused on, right.
It just feel like, it could be like, Amy and Rory just decided to...
Yeah. Or see, here's the episode I would have done. Which was, there'll probably be basic. I would say they come back, they make their commitments, be bridesmaid, be a nurse. The doctor shows up out of nowhere. They break their commitments. Their friends are mad at them. They lose their job, and they're like, you know what? Enough is enough. We need to resolve this. And then the doctor comes to is forced to respect their personal lives, while at the same time they try. They're like, well, it's fine if we go off, but we need to be back. We need to do this on weekends, or we need to be back in time for work. And they come to some sort of mutual bond that strengthens their respect for one another, strengthens their friendship, and comes to a proper conclusion.
Yeah, like this really didn't need the shocker or the cubes at all. It could have been done without.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's like if anything, it would have been better. If anything, that would be better to use. Like, it would be this type of. It's like, yeah. If anything, it would be something where you want to use a previously established villain, because you want the villain to be something you can show up, fight them, and you're not so worried about the villain as you're worried about the impact that leaving to fight the villain had on their personal lives.
yeah. This has been like
Or Centauri.
Centaurans or Cybermen were the two in my mind. Silurians would be possible, but there's too many themes involved with them for it to be really clean and neat. Especially considering dinosaurs.
Centauri is probably
Yeah.
Centaur style.
Centauran, it would have been perfect with...
Well, since the one thing Tennant had about it is that this wasn't like the Centaurans at all. It's not like them to be steam.
Right. But I mean, like, if we go with the hypothetical situation I had, if he pulls them, they're supposed to be at a wedding, and he pulls them away to fight the Centaurans in the future or on another planet, and brings them back after the wedding, and everyone's mad that they missed the wedding, that type of deal.
Yeah. You also notice that this is the first time that Doctor Who before.
As far as straight up wedding,
And the remixes of that one line, because it was like,
oh, I didn't realize it. I didn't.
wait, what?
I actually
Yeah, that's interesting.
But
sure this came about because Britain recently went through and filed a thing saying that they're allowing same-sex civil marriages, and that probably within the next year or so they will be fully civilized.
from what I've heard, it's ever since there was outrage that gay people dared to appear on Torchwood, that Doctor Who and Torchwood have both been amping up the homosexual or bisexual nature of characters and people. Basically to say, you don't have the right to say that gay people aren't allowed on TV, so we're going to show you that by putting them everywhere, well, not everywhere, but frequently on these shows. Yeah. Like, mhm. And what I've also seen, and I've seen various things debating on, the reasoning behind this and the purpose behind it, but actually no, scratch what I was about to say, because this wasn't a Moffat penned episode, because I was going to say there's been a good number of references to homosexuality in Moffat penned episodes, but this wasn't one, so that doesn't really fit with that idea. Unless he's turning around and specifically saying you should include this in the episode.
So we're arguing about the problem there being a same-sex anything in a Doctor Who related series. Barrowman.
Not necessarily a problem. Just I mean, I would say it was the first mention of a gay wedding, but we've had lesbian couples on Doctor Who before. Jack screws anything that will move. Yeah. Okay. Multi-species homosexual relationships, but they weren't married. They were different social classes, different species, and the same gender, but they weren't married.
Well,
Don't admit, I kind of actually cringed at that one bit where they started bringing up, like, social media-ish sites, and then they got to sort of...
The Doctor really hates Twitter. Like, he bitched about... He bitched, David Tennant... David Tennant bitched about Twitter. In what episode was it? Where Rose went out to take... Oh, no, or was it Amy? It was either Rose or Amy. So it might not have been Tennant. But either Rose or Amy was going to take pictures of, like, the view somewhere because it was, like, the most beautiful view ever. And the Doctor was like, you know, we're going out to this splendid, this extraordinary planet, and you have to stop and tweet about it. It was like...
That was Amy.
Okay, it was Amy. So was that the girl who waited? Was that episode the girl who waited?
I don't remember about that.
But, okay, so... No, he specifically said tweet. Because they were talking about bringing the cell phone. Because it was a camera phone. But it's like, the Doctor very specifically seems to dislike Twitter. Which is ironic because if any social media is perfect for the Doctor, it's Twitter. If there's any social media that perfectly exemplifies the way he goes about the world, the way he reacts to things, the way he goes in and out of places and travels, it's Twitter. The Daleks would follow him, the Cybermen would follow him, the Centaurans would follow him. Yeah, he's like, that's kind of boring. Yeah. The Daleks couldn't transcend stairs until they had been around for 42 years.
But later, I'm like, yeah, my dog could do it.
26 years.
Wait, what?
No, they do content just for it's just badly correct.
Were Randy and Flynn just saying the same thing at the same time?
Yeah, I corrected you. You said 42 years. I corrected you.
Right.
Because they could fly in the Daleks.
Oh, okay.
One scene, and it was really bad.
Okay, because even in...
Revelation, where there's a Dalek that hovers in one scene.
Okay, because even in the Dalek handbook, it mentions it makes it seem as though they didn't overcome they weren't able to transcend stairs until Dalek.
Which is false.
Okay.
Deliberately shown in remembrance.
Okay.
Hovering up the stairs in the Seventh Doctor. And then you mentioned Revelation, and I don't recall that scene off the top of my head.
It's when they have the two people that are finding her father, and it comes into a room, and there's like a Dalek that, and then all of a sudden it does these. If you watch the CGI effects, you see what they're trying to do. The original one is really weirdly directed. It looks like the Daleks on the wall.
I said
It is supposed to be
looking at the DJ.
I like it.
He was a little too cheesy for my taste.
I thought he was rather funny. It's like he has this huge, big, massive personality that he's just taking hot shots at all dead people. Like, said, over his mind. It's like, when it's like, he was giving an announcement, oh, you're right. Get more money. He's like, never mind. That was funny. Anyway, I read this kind of the Dalek ability to fly or hover dates back to the chase, where a Dalek can fly from taking flight, while in Revelation of the Daleks, Dalek hovers to exterminate two victims. The first part of the 1988 serial Remembrance of the Dalek shows Dalek clearly shown to hover up the flight stairs of Doctor's Floor.
So, in reality, they might have been able to hover all the time.
Okay. Well, I would say, except for, definitely not in their first appearance, but any time afterward, maybe.
Or they were constant.
Yeah, they
Like to say they're powered by static electricity and heat.
And don't try to tell them otherwise.
See, this is also why there's a problem with them killing off, RTD seemed to have an issue with constantly, he would bring back a villain and then kill them. And find another way to bring them back and then kill them. But if they would stop just, if they didn't keep killing, like, for example, the Master's been killed off about 4 times permanently now. If they would stop permanently killing him off, this could have been a Master episode. Just replace the Chakra with the Master.
See what the Master has gotten out of it. If you use classic Master as opposed to the evil from the walls Master.
Still in for evil, the anti-evil, the walls master to come back.
Yes, I would love to see a Master come back that's actually an evil mastermind.
Kind of like what we have with the Third Doctor and what we have with the last episode with the Seventh Doctor.
Because there, he's a little off and he's
A little bit, but he starts actually getting some of that medicine back.
yeah, he's still cracked.
I think, now I haven't seen Survivor, and I'm saving, I'm actually planning that to be my last classic episode, because I wanted to
Yeah.
save it. I actually looking forward to accepting as the last, but anyway, he's really good up until the Goblins, where he's great, and then Castrovalva, he's terrible, and after that, he's just good.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem. Is you're again, once you get into the Fifth Doctor era, it becomes more campy, and that's when you kind of evolve into the pantomime Master.
As someone put it, because someone's opinion this blog said that once you summon the devil, you can't go back. And he said that the Master just kind of peaked with the demons. So he summons the devil, and then it's like, oh, we don't really know what to do with you anymore.
That's not what actually happens. They decided to take us a little quick because
Wait now.
the Third Doctor, the last issue of the Third Doctor had been Master-centric, and while they were taking that little break from the Master, Roger Delgado died in a car accident.
Right? No, actually, he summons the demons at the end of his first season, and it's 2 years later that Delgado passes away.
Yeah. The thing is that he has that, he does okay in like the next few episodes. The problem is that the actual development team, or the not the development team, I'm thinking MMOs, the writing team, sits down and goes, okay, we realize out of the last 4 or 5 episodes we've had, all but one of them, the bad guy has been the Master. You realize that every time we're starting an episode now, people are going, oh, it's going to be the Master.
Right.
Let's take
Yeah,
it.
his point was more that there was they ran out of that idea-wise, there's not a lot more you can do once you suffer the test. It's kind of like, he just, in his opinion, the Master is a character peaked with the devil.
Well, I don't really think so, personally. Because I think when you got up to, after Delgado died, you had Deadly Assassin. And Deadly Assassin was a great episode. And
I'm just top of my head.
and the bad guy was the Master, and he had a plan.
Yeah, but it's a very different conception of the Master than Delgado.
Well, at that point, he was desperate to get more lives.
Right.
Because he was God. And that makes sense.
Right.
Delgado was after wealth and power. He was a man of wealth and taste.
Um,
But, after Delgado and after he died and they replaced him, then you got the one desperate for more life. Then after Kraken, you had Anthony Ainley's Master. Who you get Legopolis, and he's after wealth and power again.
No, he's actually in Legopolis. It's more like he just wants control. And what I find so interesting in Legopolis is that there's a real traceable line that the Master is just a very reckless person, where he keeps getting into situations over his head, and Legopolis takes that to the hilt where he accidentally destroys half the universe because he didn't really think about what he was doing. Of course, once you destroy half the universe, what do you do? Or yeah, it's like a third universe, yeah. After you do that, what do you do? It's like, yeah, you just feel like
Yep.
people.
Oh.
Doctor, I hate you, and I'm going to annoy you to the end of Earth.
Then the only way to top that is to put the end of the universe into a meat grinder to become your own personal slaves. So the master's like a dog. Once he tastes blood, you have to put him down, or he's going to keep going for it. Oh, that's right. Because isn't he the one who reveals that the Valeyard is the Doctor, or kind of the Doctor?
In a way of screwing over the Valeyard, that whole style of High Lord doesn't make a lot of sense, especially the Master's role in it. Because he's supposed to be working with the Valeyard against the Doctor, and then working with the Doctor against the Valeyard.
He just wants to play the Doctor against an incarnation of himself.
Yeah, that's another 50 Baker episode, I think. But he doesn't come out as good in that one as he did in Severati. And then he's not seen again until Survival, kind of. Yeah. Then again, you've seen it, and well, the movie. Let's not talk about that.
Although he got better by the end, but that's a totally different thing.
And then we don't see him again until John Sim, well, actually.
See him as Yana.
And so, I mean, I would have loved to have seen an entire series of Derek Jacobi as the Master. Oh, yeah.
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 Because he was classically villain as Master.
Yeah.
He was a camp Master, but he could have gone either way.
He actually made a better contrast to Tennant than Sim did. Sim was just evil Tennant.
Yeah. But here's the thing. When Tennant acting intimidating was more evil than Sim acting intimidating. At least, as to me. I mean, I'm trying to think of Sim's, most intimidating moment, but I think Tennant's most intimidating moments were far more effective. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, the contrast between an aging master and a young doctor would have also been.
Yeah.
Aging bitter Master.
Yeah.
That would have been nice. I would have loved to.
Mm-hmm. It also would have been nice to play on the whole thing. If they had kept the same master, then they could always play it on the fact that, well, you're the coward who ran away from the Time War. He's like, no, I'm not. I'll prove it by trying to murder you. Type of, and trying to constantly deal with that type of, internal struggle to prove himself back after running away from the war.
It would have been nice, but again, it's only the realm of what could have been.
Oh well. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah. Actually, I think we're going to
End of you.
Yeah, I think we've done about all we can on it.
With this episode, it's not that I think it's like leaving on a shit or anything. It's just there's so
Yeah, really the best thing to come out of this episode was setting up what unit is going to hopefully be in the future.
Yeah. I think personally, for me, I would give it 7 out of 10. This painting, or back. I don't. Okay. I would give it a 7 out of 10. I like it, and I think they did a lot of interesting things. I like the thematic stuff it sets up for the following episode, but there were weaknesses to it. I didn't like the narration. I thought the ending was emotionally cop out, and it just had its turn. It could have been a lot better. I thought the ending was tacked on. But on the whole, I did like it a lot.
I would say since Angel. Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was gonna say, since Angel Takes Manhattan is sort of in its own realm in terms of you can't really, it's hard to judge it, at least the way you would in a different episode. I would probably put The Power of Three as the second best of the first 4 episodes we got. It had some merits. Did some setup. It definitely felt less like filler than Dinosaurs, and definitely a lot less straight up logic holes than Asylum. I just think it could have been made more entertaining and more effective.
Like, it had potential, but it just didn't really follow it through.
That's kind of that's kind of the theme of this season. It had potential, but Doctor Who Series 7 had potential, but if I had to rate it, 6 out of 10. It was just above average. Well, honestly, depending on how you say average Doctor Who, because generally I consider Doctor Who as being high, but just on the good side over mediocre.
I'd say it's like 6.5 or 7 out of 10. Bad? Personally, I'd actually give it about 5. I think about half of it could have been chopped out, and the other half could have been given more.
Either half, really. You could either cut the cube half out, or the companions half out, and made either of them into a different story that focused specifically on their one idea.
And that's because I felt the jokes fell flat, the plot fell flat, and there was no real payoff at the end. It seemed to be something that really needed to cook a little while further in production before coming out. Or completely and totally replaced. Now, again, my opinion of this may change based on later episodes, but at this point, it really just... This episode doesn't do anything for me.
Like, to me, like, this, I actually would say that this has actually been, even though I gave it a kind of decent rating, this has actually been the most frustrating episode for me so far, because it's just like, this could have been handled so much better. Or just done,
Like I said, that's the theme of Series 7.
yeah. It's like, I would put this under, I would say out of the 4 episodes so far that we've covered, that this would, come in second, but only really because, if it didn't, I'd put Dinosaurs above it just because that was, silly, fun.
Well, see, I would put Dinosaurs all the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's like, for me, the rating that's for me is Downfall Mercy, Dinosaurs, and it's almost as high at the bottom as Asylum and
See, for me, it's pretty clear. It would be Mercy on top, then Power of Three, then Asylum, then Dinosaurs. No question. Even then, Angels is hard to quantify. Whatever, at least to me, it's hard to quantify in the same realm of everything else. Maybe because it's the only thing that actually felt like it was part of Doctor Who continuity versus just being an episode slapped there. At least that's how it feels to me. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. We will, yeah. I think everyone has a lot to say about it. I've seen, every time I log on to Facebook, whether I'm looking at a Doctor Who post or whether I'm looking at my high school friends I haven't talked to in years, all I'm seeing is talk about Angels, so the internet has a lot to say. A lot of it just seems to be screaming Moffat.
We're mostly all the same, by the way.
And you'll find what well that is next week. Join us on
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna give you my opinion. I just say that I've talked to my friends about it.
We're gonna sink the boat.
We talked about this episode with my friends.
I feel almost like we're gearing up for a marathon recording session to just keep going and start the next episode now. But I know everyone hasn't seen the episode yet, so that would be a bad idea. Besides the fact that it's 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I didn't think that was
Yeah, I would hate for us to finally get off just in time for me to go to work for my 10-hour shift. Ugh.
That's the reason I might have been so harsh on this, fatigue anger. I can't tell. But, just the more I think about the episode, the less I like it. I mean, there's no sense of epicness in this episode at all.
You need one.
For Doctor Who, I would think so. I mean, the last, I'll say, when I think of an episode with no sense of epic in Doctor Who, I think of Love and Monsters.
Love and Monsters has some things going on in the surface. I wouldn't call it one of the greats of Doctor Who, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as it's saying.
And it's perfect. I actually have to agree with Lynn on this one. God,
Speaking of paradoxes that you need an immense amount of power to sustain.
But I think I enjoyed it probably because I like the character interaction more than I actually like the whole feeling, whatever the hell that was. I cannot remember again. But I think I like that.
If anything, I like the episode because it has yellow in it.
I like the concept of having the episode dialogue with the character recording it for his
It's a worthwhile concept. Yes.
The thing I read this analysis a long time, liked the idea. I know, as with all of that nonsense, you have no idea what the author intended, and I can't find anything on what he actually intended when he wrote it. But the analysis I read was that it was a metaphor. The episode was a metaphor for, the story of the episode is how the Doctor affects the Sky's life. The metaphor would be how the story of Doctor Who affects us, the audience. And so the first part is all the general canons, like, hey, Linda really represents the general public. Then you get to the Peter Kay character, and it's like he's the Superman who wants the show to be his own way. It's kind of like Ian Devine. He looks like Ian Devine. And it's sort of, he's kind of...
So then if you take that a step farther to Time Crash, when they're talking about Linda as a group of ridiculous fanatics, it's basically Stephen Moffat coming out and saying that the Doctor Who fandom is a bunch of idiots, that he doesn't want to be associated with the Doctor. Oh, God, I didn't want to remember that name.
A really silly runaround with really crap monsters. And that's what the show was. I really like that. I think it's a really interesting way. Of course, then once you get to the actual ending of the show and you find out, oh, she's resurrected this slab of concrete and gives him blowjobs, then it falls apart. Crap.
Yeah.
I would like to get that ending and like the rest of it. So
I think that's a great note to finally end the episode off on tonight. What do you think? Good night, everybody. This has been an Unearthly Podcast, and we have brought up unearthly things.